Right.
She doesn't
Yep.
see my Facebook.
Okay. So here's our agenda on the board. It's going to start with how serious is the problem throughout the U.S. What are the important metrics to report? The severity of the issue. How will we measure improvements or effectivenesses of our solutions that we come up with? And then we're going to see what solutions we are thinking about, what actions we should take, who's going to be affected by them, and how maybe they would be implemented, and maybe like just if it's going to be easy to implement or kind of hard to implement. There's positive and negative aspects that we're going to weigh, and we're going to use our metrics to kind of help with that. We're going to talk about what our best solution is and kind of agree on one, and then we're going to review it, and then finally we're going to talk about like the implementation that we might be thinking about doing. So our topic is pretty much schools with gun control, violence. How do we reduce violence within colleges, universities, high schools, things like that, and more specifically to like gun violence and things like that. So I guess to start, what do you guys think that this is like a serious problem, or like do you think that like what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously it's a serious problem. It's mass killings in the United States. Like, no one wants to have any violence in your country in general. And especially nowadays, we have more mass killings now than not only any other country in the entire world, but we've had more mass killings in the past 10 years than all other mass killings combined. Like, excluding war, obviously.
Yeah.
But just random acts of violence are at an all-time high. So obviously, we need to address this problem because it's becoming an epidemic.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah. I think I kind of agree. I think it is definitely an issue. I think sometimes it gets hyped up though, because sometimes you get mixed up between like general violence, which is just like people beating each other up. You have like fights and things like that, and then but the only ones that get attention necessarily like the ones where it's like mass shootings. And so sometimes I feel like maybe there's too much emphasis on that, and it kind of exacerbates an issue that might not be a typical issue, if that makes sense. Yeah, but I think overall though, it's still something to definitely like consider. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I agree. Like mass killings is like pretty much becoming like an epidemic now. These days, like due to like the ease of getting a gun these days, just like getting a license, and it's something that people focus on, but there hasn't been much effort to like stopping recently, or any like new laws going into effect.
Gotcha.
I mean, not only that, just like schools are like your safe zone. Like you don't have to work. Like you're not supposed to worry about like somebody coming in with a gun. Like it's not an armed building. You don't go through like security checkpoints to get into a school. It's like anybody could literally just like walk in with a gun, like a student or an adult.
Yeah. The fact that going off what you were saying, the fact that like I read an article in the New York Times like for our sources, and it was this girl she was a school teacher. Now she's saying she's terrified to go into her school because there's so many killings, there's so much violence in these schools that she's literally terrified every time she walks in the front door of her place of work. You shouldn't have to feel threatened for your life day to day, going to your place of work, your school, wherever. Just in general in this country, you shouldn't have to walk around like looking over your shoulder thinking you're gonna get killed at any second. Like,
I think that's like a big part too of school, because like how are you gonna learn if you have to be worried about like safety? Because I know a lot of times in like city schools, like inner city schools, where kids have to, at least this is from one of the articles, like when kids have to be wary when they leave the school, like that affects their performance obviously, because like why do you give a crap about chemistry if you are going home and you have to worry about like getting mugged or getting beat up by like the gang that's like around your neighborhood? Like I don't know. It's just like, granted that's a little bit outside of the school, and we can't affect that quite as much through what we're doing, but yeah. So we obviously agree that it's a serious problem. Do you think it's throughout the US, or do you think it's maybe in more localized areas of the United States, and maybe why that is?
I think it's more localized, depends on the area. As you can see in the distribution of the gun violence among the US map, and in the city, especially the urban area, it happens more. And yeah, I think it's more like a class problem, like between the economics, than more of those other problems like religious or racist or other things like that.
I mean, like what you said, like when I was doing my research, I found that like in the last 2 years since Sandy Hook, there was like 13 shootings in like Florida and like Georgia, but there was like very little up north. And like, I don't know if it has to do with like gun laws or not. I know Florida's a stand your ground state, so I don't know like how
Yeah.
different the gun control is down there, but
The South typically, the general was the South is typically a lot more lenient because like
Yeah.
I hunt and like I know the PA laws and Ohio laws because I hunt in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And in Pennsylvania and Ohio hunting laws are a lot more strict and severe than any other states. Like down south, you can hunt anywhere basically with any type of gun. In PA, I can't even use a rifle to kill a
Really?
deer. I have to use a shotgun with a shotgun slug.
I have a quick question. Can you use like a machine gun,
No,
No.
you're not allowed to hunt any animals with any machine guns.
No.
rocket launcher?
No.
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 Okay.
No, but yeah, you get in trouble for hunting. Like again with the whole gun control thing with assault rifles, like people are saying, oh, like we need them, but like you can't use them to hunt because you can get in actual trouble. There was a guy I personally knew who owned an AR-15,
Yeah.
and he killed a deer with an AR-15, and the game commission found out, and he got in a lot of trouble for it.
Why not just like blow the corpse up? Like
No, an AR-15
explode it?
shoots a smaller round than a rifle. But what it does is you don't have to recycle it. I can just go.
Yeah.
That's what an assault weapon is. It cycles around. You can
Yeah.
just shoot a bunch.
Do you know why the reasoning is because like they don't want people being able to kill like super effectively kind of thing,
Well,
or do
yeah,
you
that
think
makes sense.
like overkilling? Because I feel like if you came in with a machine gun, yeah, like chances are you might not hurt someone because you're in the middle of the woods, but like they don't want you to be able to like mow down an entire
That's
like,
what I mean. Yeah.
like a deer.
And plus, it's a lot harder to get an assault rifle. Like my uncle lives in Florida, and he's a big hunter too, and he owns a bunch of these assault rifles. But in PA, like in order to get a semi-automatic weapon, you have to jump through some serious hoops and pay a lot of
Yeah.
fines, take a bunch of classes. So like that's why you said in Florida, like I have a personal experience. It's really easy to get a gun in Florida. Like
Yeah.
you can get a gun like that. Like they just do a
Yeah.
background check. If you don't have like a federal record of murder, like here you go.
Yeah.
Here's your AK-47.
Do you need like a certificate or some sort of license?
Well, to get a semi-automatic weapon, no. You can just walk up. If you're 18 years old, it's either 18 or 21. I'm not
As
sure.
long as you
Wow,
register for a
can't wait to
weapon.
go to
you
Yeah,
Florida.
if you can register for a
If you're registered
weapon,
for a weapon,
you can get an assault weapon. Because I know, because my brother owns an AK-47 too in PA, and he has to take a bunch of classes, pay a bunch of fines, get all these licenses. In Florida, mine was just walks in the store and he just picks up a machine gun and leaves. Like,
I just don't understand why civilians need
well,
Yeah.
assault.
but the thing is though, in the Constitution, it's your right to bear arms. Like,
Well,
And I
yeah.
also
I mean,
see-
like you can have a handgun, but I don't understand like why do you need an assault weapon? Like,
Because-
that just confuses me.
here's the whole process behind it. Because what the rationale is between the right to bear arms is we should be able to, by right, legally match our government with the same force that they say, worst comes to worst, like our government, we get into war with them, we're oppressed. If we have a bunch of little handguns and they have fully automatic weapons
Yeah.
and riot gear, we're gone. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's just kind of saying we have the right to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the whole thing is.
So bringing that, like, how do you think guns? Do you think guns play a significant role in like this, like with school shootings? Do you
Oh,
think like the
obviously.
policy that we have
Yeah,
strongly
I think
influences that?
The easier it is to get a gun, obviously, the easier it is if you theoretically want to kill someone.
Yeah.
If I could get the gun easier, I could kill you easier.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
but
that's
don't you think like some people bear arms like when they decided determined they want to kill people, but like no one knows
Well,
they will be killed. That's why they
Statistically,
don't
like statistically saying, the people who own gun permits usually commit less crimes than people who do not. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
typically, if you just looked at like people who have permits versus people who don't have permits, and then you look at the rates of crimes that they commit, the people who have permits tend to actually commit less crimes than the people who don't. That's just in general, though.
Mhm.
So I feel like most people are responsible with their weapons and stuff, and I feel like it's just trying to remove it from the few that are kind of not mentally stable or things like that.
Yeah, see, I agree with that.
And I feel like most people can agree with that. Like if someone, but then they go into the whole issue of like, if you're a psychologist or something and you're with someone, like can you, it kind of goes against like HIPAA laws and stuff to like go to the government and say, hey, I don't think this person's right, because it's like, you're not really allowed to relay that kind of medical information technically.
Yeah.
But but anyway, going back to our agenda though, what measures do you think are most important for like this discussion before we kind of get more into the meat of it? Do you think it should be like lives lost, crimes committed, or like what? cost of it financially?
I don't think
or-
financial should
No.
be the worry. I think it should
Okay.
be definitely the amount of shootings and how many people are killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not only how many people are killed total, it's the amount of shootings. Cause like, say you have like 3 shootings that kill like 40 people. Yeah, that's terrible, but like, I think of like 15 shootings that kill like 35 people is worse because you have 15 shootings, like separate occasions.
Mhm. So maybe so look
So
at general
take into
versus
account,
like those,
yeah, the amount of shootings and the amount of deaths, so obviously be used to
Yeah.
measure that, the
Okay.
effectiveness of whatever we're gonna implement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what are examples of actions that you would think about? I mean, like possible solutions then.
Stricter gun laws.
That's the first one, obviously, yeah, we
I
could
think
definitely.
instead of getting people's like registered, I think every gun should be registered.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be like more effective on how people like police or department can tracking on each gun's like how the bullet is hit?
Well,
Especially also for the bullet supply. I think that's another.
each gun has a specific serial number that when you buy it legally, the thing is though, a lot of these crimes are used with illegally purchased firearms.
Mhm.
Like the majority of all crimes committed with guns are used with guns that were procured illegally. It wasn't like they went through the system and they physically did it
Yeah.
correctly.
And then there are arguments too saying like if you do gun control, the problem is there's still like 30 million guns.
Yeah.
Well-
So then you have to be like, okay, well now the government has to like
Circulation.
go and find people and like take their gun, like which
Yeah.
is just
And
like
that's just
Well,
It's caused
That's what I was
to-
gonna say, is because normally the people that are committing these
Yeah.
crimes are doing it with unregistered weapons that they got on the black market. So if we enforce stricter gun laws, you're literally only gonna be restricting the people that are actually following the law.
yeah,
That's not gonna stop the people that were gonna go out of their way to buy an illegal gun anyway.
yeah.
And like those are the people that are like using the weapons. I think in schools and stuff, like in New York City, they have security that you go through. Like you have to walk through a metal detector and put your backpack through
Yeah.
security. And like if you look at New York City schools, they have very few shootings because they can't even get weapons into the school.
See,
Yeah.
that's good because
I
like
think they should have that in every school.
because it's not only guns too. I mean, we're thinking about guns, but when we're
Knives.
saying violence, knives, like anything else. Like I had a kid in high school stab a kid with a pencil.
Yeah, I mean you can't really.
You can't prevent that, but I mean like I think the metal detector is a really good idea.
I'm just gonna take a quick break to stop this one and start a different video.